Hi, I'm Brent. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to work on making a hook. A hook like this is a fun little project. It requires a little bit of skill, a little bit of upsetting, some hole punching, some drifting. Fun little project. We're going to make it out of 5/8 round by 6.5 inch long mild steel stock. Let's go ahead and get going on this project. The first thing that we're going to do with our piece of stock is we're going to upset the end. That's the end that we're going to make the eye. So I've taken all but about 2 inches of this stock and I've quenched it in water. And we're going to try to upset this stock from 6.5 inches down to about 5.5. No need to get in a hurry. When you start losing your heat, put it back in the fire. We're 3 heats in and we're at 5.5, so that's good. Now that we have this piece of steel upset like we'd like it, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to heat up the end and we're going to flatten our upset end down to about 1/2 inch thickness. Okay, let's bring this down to about 1/2 inch thickness. Then we'll start cleaning up corners a little bit, start trying to make it look like an eye a little bit. Now our piece on the end has about a 1 inch width to it. Now we're going to try to isolate 1 inch of the height of that to start forming our eye. What we're going to use to isolate that with is a spring fuller. Put one more little heat on that and do that again. My mask for my eye has gotten offset a little bit, so I'm going to try to bring it back to center with this small hammer. As I'm doing that, I'm going to set it on the anvil on the top corners to start rounding out my eye. You'll notice I switch hammers often. If I'm doing more finesse type work, I use a smaller hammer. And quite honestly, you'd be surprised at how much material you can move with a small hammer. This hammer here weighs less than 2 pounds. It's really starting to look good. Get on our spring fuller one more time. Continue to work that eye into a round shape. Very nice. We're going to work on getting our eye portion round one more time with our light hammer before we start punching. Using my leg for a backup here to keep my tone hand from sliding down as I hit. Okay, looking very nice. Now we're about to work the portion right below the eye to about a 1/2 inch round. I don't have a narrow face anvil like I would like, so I make little tools like this just to do the job, and I put it in my hardy hole. Okay, so we see if we can work this down to about a 1/2 inch round. First we're going to get it square, then we're going to go and we're going to knock each corner off. Then once we have the corners knocked off, we'll just kind of go around and planish it so it's a round shape. Okay, it's looking very good. Now it's time to punch a hole in it. Well, I missed part of it because I lost my battery, but I've already punched my hole. I punched from this side till I got probably an 1/8 inch or so from the top of my anvil on something this thick. And then I turned it over and I started driving my slug. You get the center of your shiny spot once you turn it over, and started driving my slug out. Now my slug's still in there. It didn't fall out on this punch, but I'll get it out in short order. Now we're going to start stretching that hole, and we're just going to do that with a tapered punch. You want to keep it nice and hot while you do this. Our goal is to stretch this out enough that it'll fit on the end of the horn of the anvil. At this point, I've already punched a small hole. Now we're going to start stretching that hole out with a long tapered punch. And I find don't try to do too much per heat because it's just wasted effort. Be careful when doing that. That's a good way to burn yourself. Okay, we'll cool our punch. And we're going to heat our metal again. We'll probably do that about 2 more times. I don't know if you saw it come out when we started stretching that hole out a while ago, but there's our slug. Whenever I'm stretching out a hole like this, I always try to make sure I alternate sides with my tapered punch. That's it. Don't try to do too much work in one heat. It's just wasted effort. Two heats in. I think next heat we'll start working it on the anvil a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work all the way around the perimeter of this eye and start knocking the corners off and stretching any areas out that need to be stretched to make our hole a little bigger and make it look very symmetrical. As we start working this eye, I'm going to use a smaller hammer because this is a very small cross section. And all we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on our widest sides areas first. And as we hammer those down and get the same thickness all the way around the eye, at the same time that's making our eye bigger to make it more useful. Okay? As you start cooling, start knocking a chamfer on the outside of your eye. Now I normally bounce back and forth from one side of the anvil to the other when I'm doing this, but trying to keep from blocking the camera as much as possible. Almost like magic, huh? Beautiful. We're gonna work that one more time, and that's gonna be good. Let's see if we can finish up this eye, get it looking like we want it. I'm intentionally leaving hammer marks on it because I like the look. Okay? If you tilt the eye as you're working it on your horn right here, it also chamfers the ID of the hole as well. Okay? With the rest of our heat, we're going to take and work around the base of our eye a little bit. Make sure we like how that's looking. Can you see how the inside of the eye is chamfered as well? I think we're going to call that good on the eye. Not my best work, but I'm not ashamed of it. Next, we're going to put about an 1.5 inch long taper on it. You can make whatever length taper you want. I'm going to call it go about 1.5 inches. First, I'm taking it down square. I don't want my hook super pointed, so I'm probably only going to bring this down to about 3/16 or 1/4. Okay, once you have an even taper, go ahead and knock the 4 corners off of that taper. Okay, then planish it round as your heat dissipates. Okay. I think I like that. For our next little effort, we want our hook to have a triangular cross section. If you were to cut a cross section on this hook right here, it would be an equilateral triangle. So each included angle would be 60 degrees. That's very difficult to do free-handed on an anvil. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little tool that I made. It's just a thick piece of stock, and I took on each side and scribed 3/4 inch from the top, a 60 degree included angle on each side. Then I connected them across the thickness of the metal, and I cut that out with a portaband. And that's going to give me my 60 degree V that I'm going to hammer the material down in. I also have another one right here that's tapered. It's 3/4 inch on the sides, and it tapers down to 1/2 inch. I also cut that one out with a portaband, and I just finished them out with a file. This is a very handy little tool. Let me show you how it works. When you're doing this portion, make sure you have the eye of your hook vertical. Okay, we got to switch ends. Very nice. Now we're going to do the point. We're going to do the tapered section now. As you start getting close on this, switch to a smaller hammer so that you can work those corners and get them symmetrical. It'll pay off in the end. I would consider that end done. Let's finish up closer to the eye. Same thing. Use a small hammer, unless you just really go with a big hammer, to planish those corners a little bit. Oops. Okay. Looking very nice. Our next step is going to be start putting some bends in this thing. The first thing we want to do with our eye vertical, we're going to make the tip of the hook curve down just a little bit. And that's your preference, however much you want to see it curve down. I think I'm going to do mine about like that. This next bend is going to be the same direction. You have your flat side down. We're going to put a slight bend below the eye. These will have to be adjusted some more, but if you get those bends in there, get them established, it helps a little bit later. I've cooled the very tip of my hook. Now I'm going to start working it around the horn of my anvil. And here again, this is another thing that really and truly, I normally do it from both sides of the anvil, but I'm trying to keep from blocking the view too terribly much. I'm going to put a little more heat on it, but it's looking good. We've worked this around the horn a couple of times. It's looking pretty good. Now we've got to start working on getting this curve back in it. Like I said, we're going to lose a little of these as we work. We've got to get our reverse bend back up by our eye. So just hook it on the horn and hit it a couple of good times. Okay, I think I'm going to curl the hook around just a little bit more. We're going to keep finessing this till we get it like we like it. Okay, y'all, got our hook all cleaned up. This is the one that we made today. I wire wheeled it just a bit and I dipped it in oil. It's got a good dark finish on it. I really enjoyed making it. I hope y'all enjoyed following along. I hope you get out in your shop and make one for yourself. It's a fun little project. The most difficult thing about this project is holding on to it. Once you start getting a few curves in your hook, it's hard to find a set of tongues that hold it properly. Here's a couple more projects that I've been working on, y'all. Here is some ladles that I've been making out of copper, and this one of course has got a steel handle on it. What I'm using to make those copper ladles is I'm starting with 1/2-inch square stock. On the smaller ones you start with about a 3.5-inch section, on the larger ones about a 6.5. So maybe we'll do a video on one of those. It's a real challenge to stretch this out to make a ladle out of it. This is another project I did recently. This is a small meat cleaver made out of leaf spring material. Here's a trivet that I made out of railroad spikes. You have to stretch your railroad spikes out a good bit to make that, so it's a challenge as well. Also, you'll see right here is a miniature set of bolt jaw tongues. I really enjoyed making these, so we got a few projects in the works, so like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.